Hi everyone, my name's Barbara. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're diving into pivot table settings. So most people just drag the fields around, call it a day, but if you tweak a few of these options like the professionals do, you can make your pivot tables cleaner, smarter, way faster to use. So let's get started on the 10 pivot table settings you're not using, but you absolutely should be. I'll leave a link in the description box below. I've got a sample data set here. If you want to follow along or you want to practice, just download it. It's absolutely free. So this is a sample data set and I've created a simple pivot table. I've got my sales rep, the unit price and the sum of units sold. So the first tip is, instead of only showing the totals, say the totals of units sold, you can actually show how each value compares to the whole data. So let's look at units sold. Right click anywhere, and if you show values as percentage of the grand total. So now we can see the proportions, not just the numbers. And that's great if you're looking at contributions or sales shares for your data. Okay, we're moving on to tip number 2, and this is to do with cell formatting. Do you lose your cell formatting every time you refresh your pivot table? Let's just format this, and then let's go ahead and refresh it. And this is probably familiar. Your formatting disappears. Well, there's a tick box that can sort that. So if you go to pivot table options, and it's right at the bottom, preserve cell formatting on update. Let's go back and do the same thing and just pop some quick formatting on. We would expect this to be lost again if we refresh. Let's go to data, refresh all, and it stays. That one tick box will preserve your formatting, your styles, colors, headers. They'll all stay put if you tick that box. Okay, the third setting is you can actually go back to the classic layout of Excel pivot table. So if you like dragging fields directly into the table, it's pretty old school, but you can bring that back. So you might, depending on how long you've used Excel for, you probably are used to pulling in your data fields like this from the selector area on the right. But if you do like the classic pivot table where you can actually drag your fields around within the pivot table itself, you can go back to that. So pivot table options, and then go back to display and click here, classic pivot table. You can see here that it's changed fields around like we used to be able to years ago. If you prefer it, you can do it and move them around like that. If you don't, you can turn it off again and go back to maybe's what you're more used to now, but it's classic pivot table layout if you're old school. Okay, we're up to number 4 already. So this one allows you to repeat all item labels. So by default, pivot tables only show the first label in a group. And if you don't know what that means, you will probably recognize this situation where one of the fields only shows the first row. If you want this to populate down and show and repeat all the item labels, then you can right click, field settings, layout and print, and repeat item labels. And if you want to watch here, when I hit OK, that will populate all of those fields for you. This is really good. Each row now has a clear label. This is really helpful when you're exporting data or if you're filtering it, so the full data set is visible. We're halfway through and we're up to number 5. Have you ever noticed that some categories may disappear when they don't have any values? Or you may not notice that some categories don't have values. So let's have a look at this data set. It looks pretty full. I've got January, February, March ongoing. I've got Alice, Charlie, Diana, Ethan, and all the products that they've been selling. It looks a pretty full data set, but I can't tell if somebody hasn't sold any particular product. There's a setting that allows us to do that. So right click in product, field settings, layout and print, and show items with no data. So watch what happens when I click that. You can see Alice hasn't sold any laptops in January. Charlie hasn't sold laptops or keyboards in January, but we didn't see that when we didn't have show items with no data ticked setting. I use it all the time and it ensures that all of your categories appear even when they're empty. Okay, moving on to number 6. You've probably noticed that Excel loves to sum everything, but maybe sometimes you want to count something or have the average instead. So you can pick your default if you want to do that. So let's go back to our data and let's say that I want January, February, March and units sold. I don't want the sum of them. I actually want, as soon as I go into this Excel pivot table, to know the average units sold over the 3 months. Right click, summarize values by, and then click average. So now whenever you open this up or you refresh it, it will always be the average number of units sold. And in this case, I'm looking at January, February and March. So number 7 will resolve your issue of your columns resizing every time you refresh. So you might have played around with your pivot table and got it looking lovely because you're going to export it, you're going to print it. Every time you refresh it, it pulls the columns back. And as you can imagine, the way this video is going, there is an Excel setting for that. So in pivot table options, right click pivot table options, you want to go down to the bottom and untick auto fit column widths on update. Click that. Now let's make this ridiculously big, but let's hit refresh all, and Excel doesn't touch how wide we've made those columns. I hope you're still with me. We're on to number 8, and this is how you can make your pivot table automatically sort the highest or lowest value. So when I've brought my data in, it hasn't sorted it in any way. It looks like it is sorted A to Z by our sales rep. But I would like to see right at the top units sold. Right click, sort, largest to smallest. This is perfect for quickly spotting top product sales or performers. And we can see now that Alice has sold the top number of monitors. She's also sold the top number of tablets. This one's a hidden gem in pivot tables. So if you've got a report and it has a filter, in this case I've got region and I've got sales rep. If I go to pivot table analyze and options and show the filters that I have, I've got an option of sales rep and region. If I select one of these and hit OK, Excel will automatically create each region's own Excel report. So let's select region and hit OK. And I've got east, north, south and west. Excel's instantly created one worksheet per filter value. So it's just created multiple reports in a split second. It's a really useful one if you need to split out data and it's in one main pivot table, as long as you have a filter on and use that filter to create multiple reports. We've made it. We're at number 10, the 10th setting that will make your life so much easier. And the last one is getting your pivot tables to automatically refresh when anyone opens the file. So when they open it, they have the latest data, and it means you don't have to manually refresh them every time you open it. It's automated for you. So right click and pivot table options, and let's go to data, and it's the third option down, refresh data when opening the file, and hit OK. That's it, done. If anybody opens the report, if anybody opens that Excel workbook, the data connections will go ahead and refresh automatically for them. So they will automatically get the most up-to-date version of the report. So if you made it to the end of the video, thanks very much. Consider subscribing, it really does help the channel. Give it a thumbs up, ask a question in the comments box below. I answer all the questions. And a reminder, if you want to work along with the Excel workbook, I'll leave a link in the description box for you too. Thanks for watching.